It's time to do business again on Business Incorporated. It's going to be 55 minutes with updates from the world of business. And for today, here's what we have prepared for you. There's Nigerian food being produced in Canada. We'll give you the gist on the program. In South Africa, the numbers are good. Inflation has dropped to a 5-year low. And Morocco is expanding the use of its natural resources. They're looking at gas terminal. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Let's do business. Oil prices rose almost 1% in early trade today, extending the prior day's gains as investors are weighing a fresh round of sanctions on Iran, a drop in U.S. crude stocks, and softer tone from President Donald Trump on the Federal Reserve as well as China. The market found support after Mr. Trump backed off some threats to fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell after days of intensifying criticism of him for not cutting interest rates. Mr. Trump has also signaled the possibility of low tariffs on China. So let's look at the numbers. We see that it's almost 1%, almost 1% in the green. $68.05 for Brent. WTI is also about the same, and it's $64.27 a barrel. The U.S. issued fresh sanctions targeting Iranian liquefied petroleum gas and crude oil shipping magnate Zahid Abdullah Emmanuel and his corporate network on Tuesday. The network is responsible for shipping hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Iranian LPG and crude oil to foreign markets. And also, the U.S. crude oil inventories fell by around 4.6 million barrels last week, according to American Petroleum Institute data. We're still staying in the global space, or rather still staying in the oil and gas space, as Nigeria's gas output increased by 15.6% month-on-month to 227.93 million standard cubic feet in March. This is according to the latest report from Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC. However, on a year-on-year basis, the country's gas output rose marginally to 227.93 last month from 198.35 recorded in the same period last year. The NUPRC gas production status also indicates that of a total of 227.93 million standard cubic feet of gas produced in March, 119.5 is associated, while 108.3 is non-associated gas. Away from the oil and gas space, gold prices fell on Wednesday as U.S. President retracted his threats to dismiss Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell and also expressed optimism for a trade deal with China, denting bullion safe haven appeal. So we see that gold lost 0.7%, $3,357.11. U.S. gold 1.5% in the red, $3,366.80. Spot silver on the flip side went up 0.5%, $32.67 per ounce. Platinum is down 0.2%, $956.53. And palladium also lost 0.2% to $933.72 per ounce. And the hints of U.S.-China negotiations and Trump backing down on his threat to remove her cost sell-off on gold. As we know, it's been used as a hedge against, the uncertainties in other markets. So now a bit of uncertainty coming back to the scene. We see a sell-off on the gold. And then back here in Nigeria, the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, plans to set up a national council for digital innovation and entrepreneurship, which will serve as the highest advisory body for the nation's startup ecosystem. NITDA's Director of Corporate Communications and Media Relations, Hadiza Umar, who made this announcement via a statement, says the agency intends to convene a startup consultative forum on April 28 to nominate members from the tech ecosystem for the Startup Council. She said the initiative, convened under the Nigeria Startup Act, reflects the federal government's commitment to positioning startups as vital contributors to building an innovation-friendly environment. The Nigeria Startup Act was signed into law in October 2022 to create a legal framework and provide incentives for the development of startups in the country. Still in Nigeria, the revenue in Nigeria's insurance industry grew by 61% year-on-year to 1.2 trillion naira in the third quarter of 2024. That's up from 742 billion naira recorded in the same period in 2023. The chairman of Nigerian Insurers Association, Mr. Kunle Ahmed, who made this known during the quarterly media briefing in Lagos, explained that the non-life business grew by 69%, largely driven by fire and oil and gas business, while the life business grew by 45%, driven largely by group life policy. He expressed optimism that the growth recorded in the third quarter will be sustained till the end of the year. While commenting on the enforcement of the third-party policy, the NIA chairman said that a slight growth in third-party policies has been recorded since the pronouncement, which has also led to a slight growth in the liabilities of insurance companies in terms of providing more reserves to meet claims that will happen in the future. The drive to enhance transparency and fiscal responsibility in the aviation sector has recorded yet another win, as the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria have constituted an aviation chapter. According to the president of ICANN, the birth of aviation chapter will further drive financial impact in the aviation sector.
Our roles as chartered accountants have never been more critical in our rapidly evolving world, characterized by technological advancements and economic fluctuations. As guardians of financial integrity, we are entrusted with upholding the highest standards of professionalism and providing insightful guidance to navigate these complexities, ensuring sustainable growth and responsible financial practices. That's why they say accountants are not easy, they don't easily spend. They look before they leap. Recognizing the pivotal role of the aviation sector through its direct GDP contribution, facilitation of trade and job creation, the contribution of chartered accountants to effective financial management is deemed indispensable to the sustained growth of the sector and its increasing impact on the national economy. It is my warmest appeal to the first executive committee, the pioneer ESCO of this chapter, to dedicate themselves to providing innovative leadership. This leadership should empower our members with the requisite tools and knowledge to consistently generate significant financial impact and contribute to the overreaching prosperity of the aviation sector.
With the theme, Flight Path to Financial Excellence, integrating strategies, systems and standards that's aimed at fostering continuous professional development, knowledge sharing and network, as well as ethical leadership in aviation finance.
Without strategic clarity, no organization can truly serve. In aviation and the airport space, our financial strategies must align with operational goals, infrastructure development, safety imperatives, and increasingly sustainability targets. Financial planning must be proactive, data-driven, and agile, able to respond to the volatility that defines our industry. Next, we must strengthen our systems, our engines for performance. From enterprise resource planning platforms to revenue automation tools, we must harness digital infrastructure to improve accuracy, transparency, and speed. Systems integration enables us to connect commercial operations, procurement, budgeting, and audit trails seamlessly. Finance is no longer a back office function. It has become a strategic cockpit. And then come standards, altitude limiters, and stabilizers. In aviation, we respect airworthiness standards. In finance, we must embrace governance, internal control frameworks, compliance with internal control over financial reporting, IPSAS as well, which is the International Public Accounting Standards, IFRS, and international best practices.
Following concerns over possible significant adverse and unintended consequences of the Raw Materials Usage and Development Council bill currently before the National Assembly, which proposes a minimum of 30% local value addition on primary exports, economic think tank, the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprises, CPPE, says there's no need for it to become a legislation. The CEO of CPPE, Dr. Muda Yusufu, was a guest on Business Morning, says there is need for flexibility in the policy, which is rather than legislation, and policymakers need to be carried along to ensure that it is an all-inclusive process.
Clearly, this is not a bill that should go forward. No, it requires a lot more, more rigorous thinking, evidence, research, and study. And it is, again, not even a legislative issue. It's a regulatory issue. You don't have to go to National Assembly to be legislative. I mean, where are you going to start from? And apart from that, you are going to lay another set of hurdles. You want to export now, how do you determine 30%? You have to go to raw material research, they will test it and all of that. How do you go about all those things? And each bottleneck you create for businesses within the bureaucracy, it's additional burden. It's additional vulnerability for corruption. So we don't want too many of these things in place. But more importantly, is to ensure that we do the first things first. We appreciate sequencing. We build capacity to produce competitively. Because you are talking about export. Export is about competitiveness. It's not just about you producing. How can you compete with other countries that are coming to the global market? That is the starting point. For a trade policy, the framework has to be flexible. But once you make it a law, it becomes inflexible. And you cannot calibrate as the condition demands. So it's not a legislative issue. We already have a whole lot of things. I mean, how did the capacity of cement, how did it grow to what it is today? It's not necessarily about banning. It's about, gradual policy process, increasing tariff and all of that. Now we are where we are today.
The thoughts of bridging the gap of food insecurity in Nigeria also bring some innovation. What would a PPP in the agricultural chain look like? That was our conversation also on Business Morning earlier today.
We need to have a coherent plan, a 15, 20-year long-term plan. Things don't, things just don't happen suddenly. It happens because of the plan and then the hard work you put in to implement that plan. China became a huge industrial country. It didn't because they had a plan, they had a long-term plan, and they executed. So first of all, it starts from having a very good plan. We've had plans from before 1960 to date, and we've never really executed them, properly. We had Vision 2020, we had the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan. We have, so we have a few plans, but there's never been a comprehensive, cohesive plan. So you put that in place. And then when you put that in place, it then tells you what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve them. So you then, from the procurement process, you then need to design your procurement process in a way that, enables you to achieve that particular plan.
We're still discussing food security. That was looking at the possibility of making a PPP bridge the gap of food insecurity in the country. But guess what? A Nigerian in Canada is taking our food there, not taking it out, but planting it there. An interesting story by Toyin Kayo Ajayi. Is the founder of Canadian Black Farmers Association. Hi, Toyin. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good morning here, very early morning here.
Yes.
Good afternoon over there.
Yes, well, we had to deprive you of some of that sleep just so you can tell us your story. An interesting story because I see videos of you on your social media with goats, Nigerian goats. It doesn't look like you are in Canada. How did you get about all of this, taking our food or planting our food over there in Canada?
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this, and it's a great honor to have me here. I've been in Canada for like close to 24, 25 years now, and I've been farming in Canada for 23 years. The reason why the whole thing about growing our food here in Canada became very important for me was because I started looking at the dimension, the way things are going here in Canada, and even generally in the Western world. I've been to many other countries. I realized that 90 to 95% of the food that we Africans, even the Jamaicans, that we still eat here in the West, is still coming from our country of origin. Then 2 years ago, I think several years ago, I won't say specifically maybe 2 years ago, it's more than that. There was one issue in Nigeria that started happening that said we started having food shortage in Nigeria. And I started thinking, I said, okay, there's food shortage in Nigeria, and the prices are going really up. The one that is remaining in the country is getting really expensive. And I'm looking at here, so many food have been brought here. And when some of those food have been imported from Nigeria to come to Canada, some of them, I've had a friend of mine who has the African store here, Nigerian store, who lost almost 50% of his container, bringing it to Canada. So the guy incurred a lot of losses, and food is getting expensive back home. Part of this food that has been produced back home is what has been brought here. And now the moment you get to Canada, and it's becoming a loss, because by the time you get here, some of them are unedible. So now the remaining that is edible, it now has to double the price, which is what it has to cover its losses. So then I started saying, why can't we even grow this food here? I realized that we that are African, Caribbean of origin, we are the most vulnerable. We don't have a food security here. What is meant by food security is what you can grow and go to your backyard, where you can access quickly. You have direct access. I will say this. I appreciate Canadian government. It's been a long journey. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of way, there's a lot of ground that they can still cover. But guess what? The support structure, since I started this journey, they are giving me their attention. The media, the federal, the provincial. Even yesterday, I was still meeting with MP, one of the member of the parliament. I want to sit down, want to know how we can help. Senators in Nigeria came to me. This is BC. BC is the same size of Nigeria. They want to sit down. I got other MPs that came to the farm. They tasted the food. They tasted our water leaf, our green. I'm sharing it with them. When you look at our goats, a lot of people, I'm just going to digress a little bit to the goat, Nigerian goat, a little bit. The value of that goat, I don't even think we Nigerians, our government doesn't even know the value. I will come to that later. What I'm saying in this sense is that food is getting expensive in Nigeria, but the food can still come here. What sense does that make? Our people back home that we always send money to, even what I'm buying, I remember this Christmas, past Christmas, I usually what you pay $500,000 naira for, it's now more than 1.2 million naira. 2023, 2024 Christmas, 2024, 25 Christmas, everything has doubled in food. And there's no way. Food is the most powerful weapon. There is no, everybody must eat. So for the past 6 years, basically, I've been experimenting. Our culturally preferred food, our efo, our all kind of everything, our gari, our cassava, our yam. And I don't make gari in this country. The whole of reason, and the reason why I'm doing all this is to empower our Black African Canadian community that we don't have to come to this country and just be wiping other people's hands and just be doing all these menial jobs. We can actually, there's a lot of, get into agriculture because there's so much opportunity there, because there's so much support structure from the government.
All right, Tony. So I mean, we're going to get to the support structure later, but I mean, in doing this, don't you think you're depriving some exporters in Nigeria from earning foreign income? Because I mean, those who would have imported food from Nigeria now have to come to you over there in Canada and buy from you.
Let me see. Maybe we are just tapping into 10%. We are not talking about getting everything done here. Before we get there to say maybe 50%, it will take at least 10 years. But right now, let me now give you one instant reason why I'm doing this. Is also that we don't have food security here. The 90% of food that we are eating here does still come from our country of origin. And now I'll take it back to Nigeria. Look at the way things are so expensive in Nigeria. Nigeria is not even growing enough to feed the Nigerian population. I think our agricultural and food production industry is about money, go. We are not looking at taking care of our people back home. The food that is so expensive back home right now, it can be a little bit lower. If 10% of those things that are being shipped here can be grown here, then those food, they don't have to ship it here. It will still be able to support the demanding population. Nigeria is not producing enough, growing enough to support the population of Nigeria. So if we are able to tap into 5% or 10% of the one that we are growing, that's what we can grow here, it will take several years. So what I'm just telling you right now is just I've been working even the soil to grow this there. I have to make our loamy soil in Canada. I'm currently now trying to put together some agriculturalists, scientists, engineers in the Black community to actually start to put my ideas of growing those food properly in a commercial level, industrial way here in Canada. Before we get there, it will be several years. And I know maybe that time there will be different governments in Nigeria. They may have a more structure to support the local growing farmer. There is market in Nigeria. We cannot be chasing just only the dollars while our people back home are hungry. We that are here too, we can create another economy here. I call it repatriated economy. Even in Nigeria, government can even find a way to support maybe few of us now that I'm already mentoring in Canada here. If they can even do like a investment here in Canada too. There are some things that we can grow here that doesn't have to come from Nigeria. Our effort can grow here. We don't have to be growing yam here. Only if 1,000 farmers, I'm just one guy. Maybe now we have 2 or 3 that I'm mentoring. If we are growing 20,000 yams, the population here, it doesn't make a dent. So we are not taking the business away from the business from Nigeria. No, we are not. It's still helping them because we don't have enough. We don't even have enough to support us here. So at least for the people that are here to have enough to get it fresh locally here and for us to create a sustainable economy. Many of us in Canada are not really, we are just barely surviving. We are not thriving. Just because we are in Canada, you can ask anybody. A lot of people are suffering here. A lot of people have committed suicide between last year and now because the economy is so bad too. It's not that easy. There are people that have been in Canada for over a year and a half. They can't even keep a full-time job. It's not that it's all rosy and okie dokie here. No. A lot of people are suffering. I have if you can, African Food Bank. I created it 5 years ago. Whenever I grow in the farm, I use it to support the community. You know, I'm not even selling this food big time now. I'm using it to support our own community, the Black Africans and Caribbeans here, because the income, the cost of living here, geez, average day a year. If I tell you how much my accountant just told me that we spent last year, it's over $200,000. Me expense. Besides government support me, my own personal money I've spent on trying to make this happen to grow it here is over $400,000.
All right, Tony. We'd like to learn, because I mean, just yesterday I had a conversation of small scale farming, just as you're doing. I had a medical doctor who is also farming back here in Nigeria, and you keep talking about government support. Could you paint a picture of what this support looks like? Perhaps we in Nigeria could also learn from it and get more people to get into small scale farming just to boost production of food.
The support that, the one thing I would want our government in Nigeria to learn is this: giving attention to farmers. I know that I've said it before. I think I was on this program before. I said there should be local group, like a cooperative, like a farmers cooperative, that would be like a voice for them in with the government. Well, that what I'm practicing here exactly is what I'm trying to say, and the way it's been working. Like now, I'm pretty much like the face of Black farmers here. I'm like the bridge, like an advocate for advocating for the farmers, breaking down the barriers, finding a way so that any farmers that we are mentoring as they are getting into the industry, we have somebody who can advocate for what their needs are. So something like that, if we have it in the different from local government, state government, and they have maybe once a week. So those people will go to the government and say, these are the needs of our local small-scale growers. The government will go through that people, and then government will be very transparent and say, oh, we are supporting this. Any money government gives me now, it's already readily available. You can find those information. We give them mention on our social media. Thank you for the support, and other organizations. So the structure, that's what I see here. Government, they hear from different groups who are advocating for other smaller groups, like small-scale farmers. So for me now, for Canada government, I have that direct access. I'm collecting data of different farmers, small scale, medium scale, people who are actually getting into it. Even different, our needs, our whatever. So we push forward, we approach them, and they listen. One thing I've seen about that, they listen to you. They want to hear what you have to say. If I want to, I wish our government in Nigeria should also try and pay attention to the little guys. The little guys are the one that is actually making things work, like creating that food chain that's making it come together. Now, corporation can do, but it starts from the little guys. Everything starts from the local, from where local area. That's why I say individual local, maybe local government, state government, they have different groups, and they are able to be the one that will advocating, looking for what the small guys will need. That has been working here, and that's what I've seen here, and it's working. And the government they listen to us, and once they see that, they will not, even if they can't do much, they will say, we'll recommend you to an organization. Okay, this organization they will now invite us. We talk with them. Okay, what are the programs you have? Give us a proposal. From there. That is what I've seen that's been working.
All right.
Giving a listening, giving attention for the little guys works way better. and encourage other people to want to get into the industry.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, listening to the smaller scale farmers. Toyin Ajayi, founder of Canadian Black Farmers Association. Wish you the best. Wish you could send us some of those fresh food, but I mean, the logistics will be just too much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Let's take a break now. When we come back, we'll head to the markets. Last I saw, I hope that's still the sentiment, the NGX is back on, well, regaining some levels. Hope it stays that way. That's after the break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back to Business Incorporated. Let's head to the markets now with Aniti Edits.
Yeah, Ini. Afternoon and happy midweek. We always say happy something, happy day, happy week, happy month, happy year. So we're happy.
Happy NGX.
Yeah, happy NGX is back above 105,000 points. If you can see that on the screen there first, because the last time we were tracking this number, we were still saying, you know, we were all lamenting because this is the barometer of a country's economic performance across the world. Nigeria is no exception, even though some might beg to disagree. But at intraday, the market numbers climbed way into the 105,000 points. Yesterday, the market, it closed Tuesday's trading session at 104,739.61 for the index points. But at intraday, just about 1 hour ago, 0.47%, almost 0.5% increase for the market. And this was largely driven. Yesterday, we talked about Nigerian breweries, which once upon a time was the NGX's most capitalized entity, but it is still having a very strong foothold there. Also, in the midst of the gains, we saw Zenith Bank as well as 36 other gainers making their imprint on the market's performance against 20 losers. So that's one of the reasons why the market closed in the green and is still maintaining that uptick, as well as latest report having that First Holdco, which is one of the big banks, what we call the FUGAs, the first on the abbreviation of that, the big banks that we call FUGAs. It's reported a very impressive full year 2024 audited financial reports, recording about 115.4% year-on-year increase in earnings per share, and of course, they've also declared a dividend. The company has announced that dividend, so that's just a snapshot for Nigeria's market. For the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, 0.39%, and still climbing way into the 90,000 level, which we saw it climb into as of yesterday. For the other two markets within the African region, all the greens, all the markets are still in the green, 0.75% for the EGX 30. And guess what? It has left the 30,000 level into the 31,000 level, 31,071.75, while the Nairobi Stock Exchange All-Share Index a little bit backwards, but in the green. This is for Tuesday's close, 0.56% up. And then, of course, the number has reduced from 130, 131, which we saw, but still a fairly positive close, 126.03 for the market for the close of Tuesday's trading session. Okay, so let's take a little side step away from the stocks and talk about the fixed income market, where as we speak right now, they're carrying out the Treasury bills primary market auction, which will be, if I'm correct, the last one for the month of April. And then next week, we'll look out for the FGM bond auction and other developments within the fixed income market. But to give us more insight and what to expect into the close of mid-week trading session, let's bring in Nonso Ifejo, for a fixed income dealer with Access Bank, for details on that. Thank you for joining us, Nonso.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
And welcome back from that.
Yes, as you right.
Oh, wait, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, as you rightly mentioned, the auction is currently underway. I would just give context to what we had seen in the market from on Monday. The market has actually
dauert jetzt eine Zeit lang.
We have seen traders maintain a cautious approach. This was in anticipation of the auction. We had seen scarcity of papers on the long tenured OMO bills, and that is not surprising because we've not seen back-to-back OMO auction in the longest time now. For the auction today, I would just take a step backwards to what had transpired at the last auction. For today, there is 400 billion on offer by the DMO. At the last auction, what we had seen was an offer of 800 billion. Subscription was over 1 trillion, and at the end of the day, the DMO sold 424 billion, and we saw stop rates for the shorts end close at 18.5, the belly of the curve 19.5, and the long-tenor bills at 19.5%. For today, as I earlier mentioned, there's 400 billion, 50 billion on the short end, 100 billion on the belly of the curve, and 250 billion on the long end. Some of the drivers for the auction for today would be one, the market liquidity, the robust liquidity that we have seen. As at commencement of business today, liquidity stood at 950 billion. As a result of the FAC inflows that we have seen come into this system. The second driver is the deficit, which is at 13 trillion. We still see the government coming to fund that deficit. And if you take a cue from what's one of the matrices of the budget, which is the oil prices, is doing now, it goes on to say that the government may be under some sort of pressure to at least cushion the effect. Brent crude as at yesterday was at 68 naira, and the budget was benchmarked at 75 naira. So because of that, more brains may be needed to cushion the effect of that shortfall.
Okay.
We've also seen the FAC allocation from January 1.7 trillion fall to 1.6 trillion in February, and then 1.5 trillion in this March. So the combination of this factor and the fact that the auction at the previous auction was actually oversubscribed, but DMO undersold, would see market players
and also
with to participate at this auction.
Okay, yeah, no, so I know you have quite a lot of information to give us about that primary market auction, but I think because of time, we need to rush up things a little bit. So now, the youth environment is actually where investors look into, and we have a latest report that said that foreign investment in Nigeria, it hit about a 2-year high due to juicy duty returns. So now, how is the youth environment so far? How is it for investors within the fixed income market? Is it very, very juicy as we speak?
Yes, so it's been attractive. Looking at where rates are, the last auction, as earlier mentioned, was at 19.63%. That's the discount rate. If you do the yield, that gives above 20% levels. We know that inflation saw an increase of about 24%. However, with the return, with the yield on the fixed income paper, it still provides a positive carry. And we know that when you look at other climes, there has also been clamor for a rate cut. But in Nigeria, MPR has been maintained at 27.5% for some time now. And looking at where inflation is, there is really no serious indication that we might start seeing a rate cut at any point from now. So when you look at the yield environment, it still provides a positive carry for traders, even though some of the volatility experienced in the FX market still poses a concern. However, we've seen the Apex Bank come in its might to stabilize that, and that should, to some extent, give the foreign portfolio investors that might want to come in some confidence that if they come at a certain rate, that they will be able to exit their position at profitable levels. Thank you.
Okay, no, so thank you so much for your time. I know you were hungry to, as a matter of fact, not that you're hungry, you have so much to give to our investors and viewers who are out there listening. But so because of time is never your friend, especially when you're having fun. So we'll just leave it there and look out for how the market turns out for the close of Wednesday's trading session. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
That's Nonso Ifejo for fixed income dealer with Access Bank for doling out the details of the fixed income market. So, Ini, I think I'll just wrap it up in a nutshell. All the markets were in the green: Asia, Middle East, and US.
Yeah, well, President Trump has indicated some positive sentiment. I guess the markets are reacting to that.
I really, should we say we should thank Trump? Because there's a de-escalation in that.
Well, don't hold your breath. You can say anything.
Anything can happen with Mr. Trump.
All right, now going over to Berlin, when U.S. President Donald Trump put tariffs on most products the world exports to the U.S., he started a goal that was to attract more investment into the country, into the U.S., and build up more manufacturing within that. Well, for many industries, this plan was ridiculed, but there are some companies who are adapting, including European pharmaceuticals. Lars Holzer tells us more about this. Hi, Lars. Good afternoon. We're back to Trump tariff with some softening sentiment on the one side, especially when we look at what he said about China. But it seems to also be getting some wins with the pharmaceuticals from Europe.
Yes, interesting story here, and thanks for having me, Ines. It's good to be back with you here. Well, I want to give you a significant number here. That is what the story here about the pharmaceuticals is really all about. 50 billion euros. That is what Swiss pharma giant Roche is planning to spend in the US. And now Roche is the maker of many drugs used in cancer treatments or also against virus diseases. The company is a leader in diagnostics, and their technology is used in hospitals, mostly for molecular diagnostics or diabetes care. Now, Roche is also the second European pharma giant to announce such a major investment in the US, following a 23 billion euro commitment by its main rival, Novartis. Now, there is a political background to all this, obviously, as you alluded to, Ini. Pharmaceuticals have so far been excluded from tariffs, but the companies know, of course, that they're not sacrosanct. The Trump administration definitely has an eye on the sector. And I have to say, contrary to most other business sectors, when it comes to pharmaceuticals, the Trump administration actually has a point. Pharmaceutical prices in the US are a lot higher than in the entire rest of the world. The companies, of course, are saying that prices there are not high. They say they're fair, and that is the high prices that are actually paying for their research and development. Now, be that as it may, for Roche, the U.S. business is just over half of the entire company's revenue. For Novartis, it's very similar at 42%. And then there's some of these German pharma companies, Bayer, Merck, and Boehringer Ingelheim, who also see the U.S. as their #1 market. And now some companies are looking into producing all their U.S. drugs in country. So basically cut their exports to the U.S. down to zero.
All right, but what would this mean for the pharmaceutical sector in Europe?
Oh, it would definitely hurt if Novartis and Roche cut down their exports to the US and produce everything there. That's thousands of jobs that could be on the line here, not to mention the profits that the sector is making and paying taxes for in Europe. Now, to give you some numbers here, a recent study by Deloitte says that the German pharma sector could see its exports drop by 53%. Or to look at the same story from a different angle, 24% of all German pharma exports are going to the US. That was worth 26 billion euros last year. However, the companies have, of course, long complained about their business here on the continent. Low prices in Europe are strictly regulated, as is the health insurance sector. These prices don't allow the companies to rake in the profits that they're seeing elsewhere, mostly, of course, in the US. In a way, and that's the view of many in the sector, it is US patients who are financing the R&D that benefits in the end the entire world. Now, that is a system a bit out of whack, and that is why we'll likely see some change here.
All right, well, let's turn our attention to the market. How are investors doing this afternoon?
Well, investors here are looking at the latest news, of course, again from the White House. And we're hearing that Trump wants to be very nice to China. We talked about that before. We're talking a little bit about China. And now what does that mean, his latest comments here? Does it mean lower tariffs? Does it mean maybe that Trump has seen, after all, that his trade war is a huge problem? Now, anything pointing to a de-escalation obviously helps investors. Same with regards to Jerome Powell. Trump is saying that he would never even think about firing the Fed chief. It's not what he said last week, but certainly something that brings a bit of confidence back into the markets. There's also rumors that we might see a de-escalation between Russia and Ukraine. And then, as the cherry on top for today's trading day, Ini, throw in some really strong numbers that we've seen over at SAP, the business software giant. So there's really a lot to look at today, a lot of, for now, good news in the market, and that's why we're seeing the DAX in Frankfurt up over 2% today.
Well, let's hope that President Trump remains in this good mood.
One can only hope, Ini.
Exactly, we can only hope. Thank you so much, Lars. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you, Ini.
All right, now let's come back to Africa. Good news for South Africa. The headline consumer inflation slowed for the first time in 5 months, easing to 2.7% in March from 3.2% in February. The decline was largely driven by lower food prices and softer fuel inflation. Changes in fuel prices significantly impacted the monthly inflation rate, with the fuel index dropping by 0.4% from February. On an annual basis, the fuel index also declined notably. The price of 95-octane petrol fell to 22.34 rands in March, and that's down from 24.45. In Morocco, the country is stepping up efforts to strengthen and diversify its gas resources as the country aims to develop the first phase of liquefied natural gas terminal near the eastern city of Nador. Minister of Energy Leila Belani announced that Morocco's determination to start an action plan, expressing interest in launching a tender to develop the first phase of the natural gas terminal in Nador. Unlike many other countries, the International Monetary Fund has raised its GDP growth forecast for Egypt, projecting an expansion of 3.7%, up from what it said in January, 3.6%. According to the IMF World Bank April 2025 outlook, the fund also lifted its outlook for 2026 to 4.3% against 4.1% previously. China's total trade with Kenya went up 11.9% year-on-year to 16.13 billion yuan, and in the first quarter of 2025, the sixth consecutive quarter of growth and a record high for the same period. The strong trade data came in as the two countries are aiming to further enhance cooperation amid high-level exchanges. Kenyan President William Ruto is paying a state visit to China. That's going to be happening from now till the 26th. Started yesterday, actually, the 22nd. Kenya's agricultural products have witnessed stable exports to China. And we know China, of course, is trying to build new trading partners. But still in Kenya, the President William Ruto's administration has secured multi-billion shilling funding from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. The Treasury Cabinet, John Mbadi, inked the deal with OPEC Fund President Abdul Hamid Al Khalifa. Mbadi said that the 8.9 billion Kenyan shilling financial agreement signed on Tuesday in Washington will support the government's economic transformation and green recovery program. Still in Kenya, Kenya and Uganda have signed a bilateral agreement to implement a mega water project to improve the economy of the two countries, the Anglo-Lolo Water Resources Development Project. It's a major trans-boundary initiative that's aiming to improve food security, clean water access, power generation, job creation, and regional integration. The development is a major milestone for a project conceptualized in 2015 and implemented in partnership with the Nile Basin Initiative through its Equatorial Lake Subsidiary Action Program. And from there, we head to the crypto space right there. Seeing green colors just before I came, and I believe, well, I don't know for sure, the news of Paul Atkins now being the Securities and Exchange chairing the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States. I mean, he's been known to be a crypto ally. So a lot of anticipation follows that announcement and the removal of uncertainty, that also surrounding who would be the SEC chair. So there you have Paul Atkins has now been confirmed as the chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and a lot of individuals in the crypto space believe in him, and they think that he comes with good news and good tidings for the market. Is that why we're seeing the green here? So we see crypto has gone up from yesterday when it was in its 80s. In fact, it's even dropped a bit because I did see 94,000 at some point earlier today, but it's at 93 now, up 5.6. Ethereum has trying to recover, its glory. It's now at 1,008. XRP, everybody is green. So I wonder if this is because of Mr. Atkins now being the chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States. At least the crypto community can thank President Trump for that. He has not really abandoned them, I guess. We'll talk about that in a bit. Other headlines that we have from the crypto space, Bitcoin price hits 2-month high. We saw that. And then Tesla misses the first quarter revenue. That was all over the news. And we've heard Mr. Musk saying that he's going to be spending less time with Doge now, maybe 1 or 2 days in a week, to focus more on Tesla and his private business. We'll see if that changes the sentiment around him. And also SEC drops securities fraud case against Hex founder Richard Hart. That's also a headline. But let's speak to Adeni Olowo-Poroku on the program. Now, Mr. Olowo-Poroku, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, and I'm happy to be here.
So we see good numbers there. Even I am happy for you guys in the crypto community. But is it because of Atkins, or is there something else that has driven that?
I would say it's largely because of the announcements of the appointment of the SEC chief. It's been a while since we've smiled in the crypto space, and I just hope this is not something temporary, right? Because Paul Atkins is somebody that is known as being market friendly, and he has this kind of like less interventionist stance towards cryptocurrencies during his prior time at the SEC. So we're expecting like a lot of developments, and one of them is the potential approval of spot Ethereum ETFs. Under the last administration of Gensler, the SEC dragged its feet, often citing regulatory concerns, manipulation, and investor protections, which are the norms that they would definitely bring out. But with Atkins stepping in, there's renewed optimism. You would see that the price of Ethereum has gone up. So more people are expecting that in the coming months, we might see his leadership announce the approval of Ethereum ETF, which should be the next after Bitcoin.
So with this, will the crypto community forgive President Trump and take him back as one of their own? Has he done enough for that?
I really don't think so, because many people got liquidated during the past 2 months. You can see that Bitcoin, because before President Trump was elected, the crypto market was showing its normal signs of an extended bullish run, right? Lots of excitement. But now, many people don't even know what to even do now, because you can't smile too much and go on with, let's say you're trying to like have a project and you want to do a marketing campaign. You are caught in two minds. Today, he can make an announcement on the SEC, and in 2 or 3 days' time, you can hear that they've added extra tariff of 200% for all the countries in the world, which will definitely affect the crypto market. So we are still trying to watch and see the overall strategy that President Trump has for his economical plan. And hopefully with the appointment of Atkins in the SEC space, we can see stable policies that are crypto-friendly.
Yeah, President Trump has also hinted that, the tariff on China may be reduced. He's not going to sack Jerome Powell. So maybe we're in for some stable times. But I mean, going by history, we can't smile for too long, as you said, because President Trump can wake up on the wrong side of the bed.
Seriously, yeah, that's very true.
All right, thank you so much. Crypto evangelist Adeni Olowo-Poroku for your time this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, as always.
All right, so for once, let's end on a good note, see recovery in the crypto space and see Mr. Atkins heading the Securities and Exchange Commission staying optimistic and see if that would take us at least for some days, maybe weeks, see Bitcoin head back to 100,000. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, we'll watch and see. Congratulations to Mr. Atkins and the crypto communities, and hope this is sustained in that space. Well, that's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Incorporated today. Always a pleasure to be on this side. Remember, you can repeat this experience anytime when you go to our YouTube channel. You see the conversations both for Business Morning and Business Incorporated. Let's also hope that that optimism lasts at our NGX, because I'll see you for the stock market report later tonight. I'm John McQuarrie.